I wrote an email and said, here's the city council meeting that if you want to come to, let me know. Uh-oh.
You don't have to though. You can stay or.
If you don't want to stay. Okay, okay, but we'll follow up.
We're gonna vacate a
For those two.
Yeah.
They're a bit confused. We'll see what that email is about.
Okay, we'd like to call this meeting. It's loud. Is it just the mayor?
We got our sound system a little loud, but no, they came in and they did all these good modifications and it was.
But we don't have to speak right into the mic.
It'll pick up Sarah even when she keeps your microphone straight up.
Okay, good enough. Anyway, we'd like to call this meeting to order. We're going to start it at 6:02, Tuesday, October 25th. I am Council Member Steve Gibson. On behalf of the mayor, he's out of town today. So last time I had 2 mistakes, and I hopefully will have none other than starting the meeting late. I'm already.
It wasn't your fault because we were setting up.
Item number 1, we'd like to have a pledge of allegiance and an opening prayer, reading or expression of thought by Council Member Ann Arrington.
Pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father in heaven, we're grateful to meet together tonight as a city council and grateful for the opportunity we have to make plans for our community, and we're thankful for the nice area in which we live. And we pray tonight that as we consider making changes and look over the things that we need to do, that we will be able to do what's in the best interest of the city and make this continue to make this a great place to live. We're thankful for our law enforcement and those who bless and protect our lives and for the activities that they've done today in safety. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ.
I just went to a training up at Park City with mosquito abatement, and the auditor and several people there. We had a whole section on declaration of conflict of interest, and there's some hefty fines if you don't declare it. So any declaration of any conflicts of interest.
Well, now what he's saying.
You have a hang.
Seeing none, we'll go on to item number C1C. Public comment for comments or questions for the mayor, city council on anything. Since we have some members of the public, and these are not on the agenda items, by the way, but if you have any comments. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 2, consent items. The minutes of October 11th, 2022.
We were having a great time. I was reading it during the day. Wait a minute. We didn't have closed meetings. No.
I read it, I didn't see that, so.
Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent items with the adjustments made, the notations by our recorder.
The first,
Second.
Ann is the second. On favor?
Aye.
Passes. Do I vote? Aye, in favor. 5 to nothing. Item number 3, public hearing to vacate a street. The proposal to vacate the existing streets right of way in a portion of Weaver View subdivision located approximately between Pleasant View Drive and 3275 North, 200 West, and 325 West. Affected rights of way include those with frontage on lots 12 through 15 and 23 through 49. The existing platted roadways are proposed to be replaced with the approval and recordation of the Weaver View Phase 2 subdivision. Amy, tell us all about this wonderful.
Okay, this is probably something that's not completely new to you, but we had vacated some easements for the Weaver View subdivision a couple of weeks ago. And this is to vacate what was originally outlined as a street. So as you may recall, there was initially a plat approved several years ago for the Weaver View subdivision. And since Ivory Homes has been working to put in a new subdivision, which is modifying all of the old plans. And so with that modification, the street was dedicated before, even though the street was never put in place. And so this is to remove that. But then, as mentioned, we do have before you in the next item, that new plat map that will identify the new street.
So I entertain a motion to go to a public hearing.
Second.
First and a second. Sarah and Phil. I'm gonna make note of these so in case there's question next time. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're in a public meeting. Any members of the public that would like to comment on this? Amy, do you have any other comments to talk about?
Nothing on this unless there's any questions you'd like to respond to.
Any members of the public? I've entered. Stand up to the mic, please state your name. State your name and address, please, for the record.
I am Melvin Holland on 3114 North 325 West. And I guess the only question I have is, has the new plat that is submitted for approval, has that been available to the public to look at? I don't know if I've seen it yet, so I'm just wondering, is that going to be part of this meeting or? Okay.
Yes, so I can actually pull that up. That's the plat. I don't know if there's questions about the specific areas of it. And I can zoom in.
Again, my only question was, I've seen the old one that you're talking about. I just didn't know if the new one was available for the public to look at. Okay. So again, I just wanted to see what all the proposed changes are going to affect, and it looks like it's not going to affect my property at all. So that was my main concern.
Just the location of the lots is a little bit different, and so that would change for the easement. So and the roadways.
And the lot numbers that you're talking about are those the ones on the plat, or are they numbered?
Yes.
They will be. So what this is, and it's good that you're here this evening. And sorry if there's confusion. It's only in your packets once because it was a huge file size, and so I was convinced twice that it was massive. Yeah, the recording of the plat is being considered tonight as well. So it's and a financing agreement with Ivory Homes. So the plat hasn't been approved yet, but this is the final consideration of this, and we have had some preliminary discussions on it as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you have any concerns about it that's prompted you to come in, or anything that?
My only concerns were the lot numbers that were mentioned. I just wasn't sure which lots those were on the plat. Again, if it's only affecting those lots that are on that, if it's only going to be affecting the lots that are on the new road that's being put in, then I don't have any concerns about it. No.
Thanks.
And if you need a printed copy of this or an email, I'm happy to get that to you as well, just for.
Yeah.
Give me a second and I'll turn it off.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had. Thank you.
The other public, seeing none, I would, any move it down there, we're right on you.
This is an auction. How about we not?
You'd own it by now.
Therefore, I'll make a motion that we close the hearing.
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Wow. I know, I don't know why they're so.
You're good. I just got used to it.
Now the flight just moved up here.
Bill said
Thank you.
it. I don't even, you're close. I'm here.
So Amy, anything else we need to?
No, nothing unless there's any questions that the council wants.
I can't spot the differences.
Yeah, staff really didn't have any major concerns with the.
That was my question. Of can you, I'm like, what are the differences? Is that just a slight adjustment?
I
No,
think
it's-
really,
There's an old
It's, and sorry, I should have included in the packets the old plat map, but I mean, it's completely different. It's a completely different
From the
configuration.
old one, but not the proposed, not the
Mhm.
right.
my big
I
concern
can
is.
show you.
Oh, Dana will pull it up for us. Thank you, Dana. Thank you so much, Dana.
It went around, and I mean, so the cul-de-sac kind of went around the top and down in, and it involved
Oh,
much more.
It's very different. And Dana, do you recall what the year was this other one was approved?
1960.
Yeah, so,
wow.
So it
but it
involved
was
the Hales
recorded,
property.
and so we're dealing with an old recorded plat.
Okay, once it's recorded, it stays. I was
Then that,
saying,
that
if it's
sets
if
the
it's
rights of
one-
way, that sets the easements. That's why we
Right.
removed all the easements. Wow,
But if it was ever just preliminary and never recorded, how long does that? Stay?
It was.
Yeah, but.
yeah, if it was preliminary, it wouldn't stick.
But it was recorded.
Does this vacate all the roads?
In the old one, but then because we're approving the new plan, or you're considering the new plan this evening, I'm not including your
The new one
decision.
is.
That will.
open up.
Well, it took in a lot of the Hale stuff. It was where the nursery is and all that stuff. It took in all more land. It took in Lomondby Drive. It was just the whole thing. It came out onto Lomondby Drive to see even the street that comes down to Pleasantview Drive. That's none of that is there.
Yeah.
So and that was part of the Hales thing. I know that's not part of this, but they were concerned, and I think Ivory Home's done a great job working with the Hales to stub in and do a few things for future development with the new plan. So, anyway, with that,
Yeah, thank you, Dana.
entertain a motion then on item number 3.
Item 3, which is vacating the street between Pleasantview Drive, 3275 North, 200 West, 325 West, as proposed by the staff.
We have a motion.
Yes, and sorry, the ordinance is in your packet, but
2022-30.
wasn't referenced in the agenda.
So are we
It's an adoption of the ordinance,
adopting?
It's right here.
and it's similar to the process of vacating an easement, and so it's a formal documentation of removal
Oh,
of
there's
the
the-
right.
And approving ordinance 2022-.
We have a motion, second. And it is a roll call. Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Member Gibson, yes. Councilmember Marriott,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
great.
Yes.
All in favor, then thank you. All right, item number 4, we review phase 2, final plat approval of financing agreement for completion of improvements. Discussion of possible action to consider approval and of subdivision plat approval and the bond agreement for the Weaverview subdivision located approximately between Pleasantview Drive and 3275 North, 200 West, and 325 West. Amy. A lot of numbers on this.
And so, very similar to what you see before, we have before you a letter of credit agreement, in addition to the engineering estimate and then the consideration of the final plat map, which we discussed over. So I don't know, if Dana wanted to do anything with you, but ultimately it's just a final. Have someone there go through the process to do all.
Oh, no changes, right?
No, and they've actually, they've addressed all the red lines. Dana, right there. If you had any insight, I think I got that copy for them.
Dana, do you have any concerns?
No, no concerns, just one comment or one thing to note is that on the subdivision, the city will be receiving a parcel by warranty deed for the detention pond area. It's not contained within the subdivision boundary. So we will not record this until we have that warranty deed. Just an item of note.
Where's that located?
It is on the very southern end. It's that little triangle kind of right, yeah, right there. Mhm.
Is there a time frame given or is just whenever they present?
We actually have a preliminary copy of that. They just need to do a little bit of revision. And then it should be very straightforward.
And then just the other thing we're waiting on too is the finalized letter of credit. And I know that they're coordinating with the financial institution. We're not going to include those in the package anymore because there is sensitive financial information on those. So
Have we, I mean, I know letters of credits, the second one I think I've seen come through. Are we liking that system?
yeah, this is the third one. Really, it's still kind of new, but I like it in that, you know, if we only are tapping into the funding as needed versus, you know, holding the escrow and coordinating the release of it. So I don't mind it at all.
And our legal has reviewed it. And
Yeah, no, and it's the same agreement language you used before. It's not.
Motion need to contain that we need that finalized letter of credit or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. What we're gonna do is reference the city will have it on file as an exhibit. And so again, just because of the sensitive financial information included in those. So, you know, either way. The warranty deed
or the retention.
Yeah,
Final plat will be
I-
approved once they want to do this.
that's a-
Just a second, I do have a comment. Dana, can I ask you a question? Before we do the
Certainly.
final plat approval, I know that little triangle is going to be is it going to be a retention or detention basin?
It's a detention. It's an underground.
So the
detention pond
outflow of that will be into the stream, correct?
into that creek. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
That stream historically has flooded out periodically the golf course down below. And with, no, it doesn't flow in the canal, it flows under the canal to the golf course and down into Shorty's, that river down there. But I want to make sure that engineering is, you know, was that taken into consideration? Because we're going to put all that water on all those streets and utilize that river where it used to soak into the ground and go into the pond that was over there. But I don't know, it just alarms me that all that water is going to be flowing through, even when the Hills, if they had opened up that gate periodically, would flood out the golf course.
So maybe the question, what have we done to mitigate?
Well, is it engineered so that is able to handle that? Because it doesn't go into the canal, it flows under the river, under the road, into the canal to fill their ponds, an outflow. I mean, everybody uses that water in the spring. I just don't want it to be a scapegoat where let's just put it in that river. Does that make sense, Dana?
Yes, no, it makes sense. I wasn't aware that there was a flooding issue downstream, but this is controlling the water flowing off of the subdivision. So all the water that is running off will be detained and an outlet at a controlled rate. So it may help the situation, but
Well, I'm hoping it will, but you know, we have a 100-year storm every 3 years here.
Mhm.
I'm serious, I'm not.
No, well, like our ones that.
So it's all the storm drain flows into this.
I think that's the detention basin, which is great.
Mhm.
But it will eventually fill up. It could possibly fill up, and then the outflow will be into the creek,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Utilizing that as our stormwater system.
yes.
So it's just always been there. I don't think anybody owns it necessarily. They utilize the water to fill, again, it fills up the ponds at the golf course. And it goes up in the spring and it fills out. Anyway, I have a question about that, and I don't want to hold this up. We want to approve it. But Dane, I just want to make sure that that is engineered correctly and that that thought is considered, because again, it was never a big issue because it was all just on fields. But now we've got all the roads, and that's going to be a big push through there. So anyway, this is a concern. Just want to note that. Other than that, any other questions? Wait, this is two things: the final plat approval and the approval of the financing agreement with the things that are stated with the warranties. Anyway, go ahead and entertain the motion.
Yeah, that concerns me. We're just putting water into all the water into that ditch that I guess it's all flowed there prior to that, but it's all been farmland, right?
Well, the stream that goes under, I think. Oh, this goes under.
No, it goes under the canal. Yeah, that's no problem canal. But it would go on.
As far as I'm concerned, I could know, and I could be wrong, Tyson, none of this flows into the canal, correct? None of that ditch water. So we can control that at some point to go into the canal or to flow down the Gulf.
It could end up in the canal. It's yeah, there's a diversion structure off to the side, and whether it was the canal company or the White Barn or us at some point, they sometimes have put a board or something in front of it to try to divert those two from intersecting. Sometimes the canal gets full and it actually will come back to the north of PV Drive and then gets into that waterway. But that waterway's pipe goes under the canal officially, but there's a structure up the ditch a little ways that intersects the two depending on the water level. There's a box on their side that it'll plug off and then it overflows there. And that has to do with more the debris and such, but
That is not
at least the ones I've been.
that is not the volume of water coming through that.
Not so much the volume as much as things getting plugged off, and whether that's the sticks rushing down, because that's usually what we have to fix right there on the north side of PV Drive is the drains down in the sort of that hollow where the Bowman View Nurseries, sort of that lower section. And you have to climb down in and you're trying to get the limbs and stuff from that open ditch that all plug up again.
So am I making more of a deal than it really is? I mean, I don't want to make a big deal of it. I just want to be, because I know that there has been problems in years gone by when the Hales do something with their pond up there. If they ever let any, amount of water out, because it's just spring fed, that little pond that they've got up there. Yeah. So right. Again, my original question was, Dana, hopefully it's engineered so that detention basin will handle the 100-year storm coming off that road before it goes into that small, because that's not, it's just a,
It's a-
yeah. Okay, well, again, I don't want to make more of it than it
I think this
is.
is a legitimate concern considering. putting
So
that
that-
in.
Yeah, well, it is not a river, it is not, it's just, it's a collection point that's just, and I don't even know where it goes. Does it go, does that water end up in the, well, but does it go underneath and go into or oh, the detention down there by Humphreys? Yeah,
Oh,
is that where that road, is that where that water goes? Is it puddles right there in Shorty's place?
does it go over to the Barker mini lake?
Anyway, I'm sorry, where
And I think Dana was trying to hop in. If you were Dana, I don't know. Now I put you on the spot.
I was just gonna
So-
say, hey, I can't hear Tyson. So I don't know what he's saying, but it's a 25-year detention pond. It's not 100-year. 100-year is just what flows. There's an internal overflow and that will discharge into the creek. Any additional precipitation above the 25-year. But I mean, I think that having the detention pond there for the 25-year storm is actually going to help matters versus it all sheet floating, because there's a pretty good grade across that ground. So if there was a good storm, even when it was being farmed, that all runs off and uncontrolled. So with the detention pond, you're actually getting some control of that water.
I just texted the owner of the golf course and he said, thanks for the concern, they can regulate how much water comes in from the canal, so it shouldn't be.
Yeah, there's that diversion box they have up by the canal, and then there's the turnout. It's just west of that. But yes, if they were down by that, their subdivision touched Pleasant View Drive, there's definitely some other issues that could have been addressed, but it'd be low.
Does this affect the barn's ability to?
No.
Yeah.
Because this is,
Oh, it's affected.
all that flow still comes.
Yeah.
This is just an additional, and I agree that it is a good measure to have it there. You need the retention basin for sure, which is engineering. Anyway,
Yeah, so Ivory Homes engineer just got out. If there's any specific questions for him. Also.
Yeah, I don't know that we've addressed the water flow out really. I mean, I know it's not on this, it's not in the subdivision, but all that water flow into that ditch. To me, it doesn't seem like we've addressed it. Any flow in there, it's just the detention flows into a detention, but then where does it go? I don't know that that's required in this meeting, but
Well, if it's final grants, the design.
Yeah, this is final, so.
So
Yeah, I mean,
So I don't know, Mr. Mingo, if you'd like to speak to kind of your design and what you think about.
Excuse me. I'm sorry I got on late, but I guess I'd need to understand the question a little bit better and I'd be happy to speak to it.
so right now, the river is, or the creek, or what we call that, the creek is spring fed that goes down on the southeast portion of your property. And that the Hales family have a little reservoir there, that their pond, that they have done stuff that, no, that doesn't necessarily control the water, but that's a water source. And that goes down through, then feeds through under Pleasant View Drive, feeds the ponds at the golf course, and then exits down into Shorty Thompson's property and then down into Barker Pond. Down by 2,700. So your subdivision here has a retention basin, which I appreciate, and that's going to catch the water that's now off all of the stormwater from your roads. And I'm just worried that if we have a big storm, the 100-year storm that we get every 3 or 4 years, if it's designed to catch the water on the roads in that retention basin and hold it, and not, because there will be an outflow, and again, I don't know exactly how big this little triangle piece is, but as long as it's designed to hold the water and not overflow that creek bed, which is not designed to be really to be a stormwater collection or anything. All it has been right now is springs and then the flow off an agricultural property. And are we adding too much to that outflow? That's my big question.
Okay.
We'll get back to you.
So we designed our stormwater system to collect and convey the 25-year storm. That's curb gutter, pipes, inlet boxes, etc. Conveys all that water from the entire project into the detention basin, which is also sized for the 25-year storm. And then on top of that, we installed drainage ditches and or the roadway itself to pass the 100-year storm, which is, as I understand it, the design requirements of the city.
So is that enough then? I guess that's the question.
If it can go into the canal, which we utilize as part of our stormwater system. If it can do that, which I didn't know that it could, I think that we can mitigate that if there is a problem. I just know that we've been in capacity on several things over the last 3 or 4 years, on our regular systems that we've got. And we hold it back. We don't want to let that go. The canal's at capacity because it's flowing North Ogden, all the way through. And I just want to make sure that we're not just using that little creek as our stormwater emergency outside of that 25-year. Because I can see a problem going forward.
I think I heard Dana speaking to this when I got onto the meeting, but this in a 100-year storm or anything greater than a 25-year storm, yes, water is going to bypass our detention basin and go directly into that drainage. But it would today, or it would without the development as well. And theoretically, the city's design requirements for the detention basin, the release rate of 0.1 CFS per acre has addressed that concern. Usually that release rate is designed so that downstream systems within the city can continue to function. And it tries to approximate a pre-development flow.
I feel like I'm making more of it than it is, but we've changed that property from an agricultural piece now a subdivision piece. And the outflow, in my opinion, is still that creek, which is not a designed stormwater system. It's a creek. It's a creek bed that was designed to fill and to move spring water, a little bit of agricultural water that's on it.
Part of your design is trying to get it down to match that pre-existing.
Okay. And if that's the case, that's the original question I asked Dana. If that's been taken and the engineer here from Ivory, then I have no problem with it. Just wanted to bring that up as an issue. And if that's, again, I want this subdivision to go forward. I'm not trying to hold it up or anything. I just want to make sure that we don't sign off on something and then have sticks or garbage or something get in that thing. So wherever that is that even a city?
Well, that part that's what I was trying to get at is I wouldn't say that that's not going to happen because what's happening below is not on this subdivision.
Is that even part of the city? I don't think that mechanism is part of the city.
Most likely it's attached to the water right that the barn owns the water right.
So we are taking over that system as part of our stormwater system. We
Not
can't control what
necessarily.
that head gate or wherever that is on the north side of Pleasant View Drive.
No, we don't have control over those structures. Normally, if we're there, we're unplugging the sticks because it's flooding up through
It's already.
And now you're adding the conflict.
Well, the potential. I'm not saying that we are, and hopefully everything's been done correctly. I'm not questioning that. I just want to make sure. I mean,
You're controlling some of it more than you are without the development. Because without the development, there's zero control to what's happening through that field.
and I understand that they definitely have done their due diligence on that side.
It's gonna push more water in there though, because now it's all on the road, right? It was, if you had a small storm, you're gonna push more water in there because it's not gonna stay on the land. So, I don't know,
So maybe this is a two-part problem. Again, I don't want to derail this. That's not my intention, but I think we need to look at that as part of something.
Well, and we're happy to make, as staff, I think, contact with the barn and talk through, you know, what issues they've had and maybe some possible.
As part of this process, that, you know, the barn sign included. in the
No,
process.
yeah. No, yeah, I'm just saying if you'd like to make a motion with, you know, a request that staff.
why can't the storm run into the storm along Pleasant Drive?
There's no place to put it.
There is no storm water there.
There's nothing.
Well,
There's
from the detention I'm talking about.
well, apparently it is. There's some some.
Oh, well,
Some of it's too low. You can't turn it down and then you'd have to daylight it, or they would have had to trench down, or I don't know, Steve's Road,
325.
call it Steve's Road, you generally.
325.
So it doesn't really go.
Yes, then it's
Whatever
discharging into a ditch anyway.
So even coming down 325, all the stormwater that comes on my road, Steve's Road, goes into the
So even some,
the pit.
so even some of that is draining back to the crossing we're talking about,
Well, it's supposed to. It's
into the barn, that whole ditch.
it all
Where's Steve? Where's yours?
down. It goes down to the pit on the north side of Pleasant View Drive, and there is a pipe that goes under 325 that's plugged. By the way,
Yeah, so that one drains.
and so
back to
that
the-
should drain
the-
back down to where this collection point is.
So either way, if you were,
At some point,
you're getting back to
about
that.
5 minutes, it would just eventually, hopefully, I thought it all worked its way into the.
I think if the crossings are on there.
If there is, which I didn't know before this meeting, I didn't know that there was any way of getting it into the canal. If there is,
Yeah, you'd have.
well, right now we are, at some point, I guess.
That this kind of thing, you have to have everything to be just.
Well,
Yeah, it's a little more advanced than where
Anyway,
we're at. And I will say too, sorry, Tyson, but just with the subdivision process, you know, we require them to look at the water relative to their development. If there's other
Yeah.
outstanding issues, then we need to
So,
dive in.
so,
with them.
so what to say 25-year storm? Because, I mean, we've had some gully washers here in the last, well, 5-6 years that have just flooded everything. Is that considered in the number of the 25-year storm? You know, where's the data for a 25-year storm or a 50-year storm or a 100-year storm? Who,
So,
does that change? I mean, since,
and I don't know if Tyson or Dana want to speak to that, but I mean, I think it's typically the 100-year storm that we work from.
So the National Weather Service and NOAA provide us the data in order to get the intensities for the rainfall events, the 25-year, the 100-year, all kinds of iterations. They have not updated those in several years. They are working on different states right now, but right now we're just using historical data. We use the 25-year storm as our base storm, which is actually greater than most cities. Most cities only use the 10-year storm. But I feel like the 25-year storm is a little safer bet, especially against these infrequent but intense storm events that we're getting now. It's not the 100-year storm, but the 100-year storm is not these little ponds are not made, are not,
None of them are.
they're,
Anyway, I
they're
apologize.
are
I
big
think-
ones.
No, I mean, I do not want to, I think, you know, the subdivision's good. I don't want to put any stops on that. I think we need to go forward with the final plat approval, which, you know, they've done their due diligence there, but I think we should look at that with the staff.
Well, and that's where, I mean, I think this conversation and dialogue really are helpful because, you know, if there's those bigger issues, then we need to vet those out and really come up with some options and solutions and.
I'm just, you know, some of these I don't know. I don't know the flows out, you know, off.
But you've seen some of the issues.
But I've
and,
lived
yeah.
this one. So anyway, I'd entertain a motion on item number 4, approval or whatever the motion will be for the final plat approval and financing agreement as stated.
Either in phase 2 final plat with the financing agreement for completion of improvements, as well as the 15 million for the occasion use. And with the notification to staff to please review our stormwater issues in the area and mitigate these problems.
Do we want to have that on the motion? So,
I think it's fine to put it on there just for the record that we.
do we have a motion? Laurie, did you get that?
Second.
Motion by Sarah, second by Phil. Any other comments? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, go forward. Don't flood us out.
Thanks, Nick.
Item number 5. Thank you. Okay. Item number 5. Oh, and I told you we'd have about 40 minutes. Sorry. Peakview final plat approval and financing agreement for completion of improvements, discussion of possible action to consider approval, subdivision plat approval, and a bond agreement for the Peakview subdivision located between 2700 North and 2550 North and 400 West. Amy.
Thank you. So this item is quite similar to the last, but a whole different development. So they've also opted to do the letter of credit option. I think it costs similar to what the other is, but just for ease of use is why it seems pretty standard. So with that, and we're still waiting on getting the final agreement back on this, but I've worked with the signed agreement. The agreement language is final, but the signed. I don't know if Dana, I think there's very minimal red line in this. And then there's just a few items that we'll be waiting on before recordation. So I don't know. Dana, if you wanted to speak to any of the outstanding improvements needed.
Yeah, on the plat has received DRC approval. There's a water line easement that goes along with it. But it looks good to us.
It's over off of 2550. What was the?
This is just the rush. This isn't the time that this is.
Yeah, so this is, if you look up right here, this is this slot.
Amy, can you share your screen again, please?
Oh, am I not sharing it?
So I think it kicks you off whenever I share mine.
Oh, yes, just one moment, Dina.
Provide another street through from 2550 to 2700, right? That street's not there currently. Is that correct?
So it'll punch through, and we're working with UDOT on trying to get a signalized intersection here to go across with the Bailey's 2700. So we don't have that yet. I was just showing them the lot unit. So, yeah, there was just the one red line right there. He said, it is, the fence line. On, so it was really pretty- and let's see what else.
So just as clarification, those roads that you're seeing are not actual roads. They're not going to be dedicated to the city. They're just basically driveways. But they will have cross-access agreements filed on them. So that the access from 2700 will interconnect to the adjacent properties and then down to 2550.
No, thank you for clarifying that, Dana. So we will not be maintaining and plowing these roads.
Correct.
But does the road location have to be there? Or, you know,
This
just like,
lines up. I'm sorry.
I mean, like Walmart, you have a in and out.
Where you enter the property,
And with the cross-access easement that Dana
Pretty much
referenced,
said
it's
that, so they
important to
can-
have it there to have
Move it left or
that
right.
access to the others, and then it lines up exactly.
Not after this,
No,
right?
this is, I mean, it's legally dividing all of these lots into individual parcels.
And then question, so, UDOT's allowed access there. So we already have granted access for the driveway, but we just don't have granted access for a signal there. Is that correct?
And the access, we're awaiting, when UDOT did the agreement, they had left this property off, so we're waiting for the amended version, right, Dana? Sorry, I'm looking at the screen like you can see.
Right. So yeah, this was when they permitted the intersection, they included this design, but the permit application was only done under the Bailey property on the north side. So we've asked for them to amend the agreement or the permit to include the south side because it is part of the intersection.
They will line up.
Yes.
So just for clarification. The granted access off 2700, that you said the roads that are on here are not necessarily the roads.
It's not a road.
They're just not.
They're not city roads. They're not
Okay,
city
that's
roads.
what-
We are not maintaining and owning and plowing. But they are in those locations and very specifically so, and we are working very hard to try to get a signalized intersection here.
Well, sorry, I'm still not exactly clear on. So if we approve this final subdivision, this final plat, is that driveway for sure going to be there? Like,
Yes, this
UDOT's already said,
location, yes,
okay, that's what I was,
sorry,
no, that's good. Right, okay, I'm good.
they're not necessarily what? Oh, not right now. No, there is not a light right now. We're working on negotiations with UDOT to try to secure that.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the final plat approval, with financing agreement for completion of improvements on the PQ subdivision located at 2700 North and 2550 North.
So a motion by Ann, second by Phil. Any other comments?
And we do have the developer here. I don't know if there were any questions.
So the fly swatter back there.
The fly swatter is here for a reason.
Oh, we love to. Can you say yet?
What?
Looking great, lots of deer.
You have contractual agreement. Awesome. Oh,
Nice.
I saw that down here this time.
Oh,
That's very,
that's fun. Thank you.
no, just curious.
Keep going. No, that's fine.
I have a suggestion.
We have suggestions.
Pending. I want to. That'd be good. I want to Zows. Mrs. Frozen?
Yes.
Okay,
There's a bakery on 215, just by Party's Cane. I don't know what the south is.
Our bakery.
But they make the best breakfast burrito.
Oh, not another breakfast burrito.
Well,
Bakery.
it is, but it is a perfect.
I love
You
the.
guys, a breakfast burrito.
That's my favorite.
Well, but they make donuts, they make bread, and everything. Oh my gosh. Anyway, all right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I,
Any opposed?
And I just like to thank the developers for their efforts and coordination
for sure, we're excited to have you guys. Thank you.
so much.
Item number 6, American Rescue Plan funds, discussion of possible action to consider amending the American Rescue Plan Act funds for employees retention agreement to change the eligible participation date to December, I guess, right?
Yes, okay, so before you this evening is not necessarily adding additional bonuses to our existing employees, but to allow for the prospect of utilizing the bonuses for new hires. And so we've got a lot of employees that are looking to join the city right now, in all of our departments, lots of kind of shifting and wanted to be able to afford this option. It would happen after the 6-month review period for the employees and any employee that's here by December 31st.
Entertain a motion.
Full-time employees.
We do part-time as well and employees, but yeah, they shift around to different tiers. And I do have to say the employees are extraordinarily grateful for what you did before. Very, and I've heard very good feedback from employees and even, you know, in dialogue with some of the other cities, they're like, wow, that's amazing. You did that. So.
Approved item. 6, which is the RPA funds as stated.
Do we need to do December 31st or have a put a date on, or is that just the?
Yes. Yeah, it's just to extend the program to December 31st.
Perfect. It does.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
We have Phil and Sarah. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Close meeting?
No items this evening.
Well, I didn't put on any other things. I guess, she said we could.
Well, you can, and I'm sorry, we didn't mean to leave off other comments, so that's not a problem. We're here. It's been agendized for the meeting, so. if there's any comment,
Gonna get in trouble. I don't want.
we will not get in trouble. No, do not take any action.
No, we
and
won't
you're
take any
fine.
action. Chief, why don't you give us a quick report? We'll get here. We started late, so let's do it in an hour here, so go ahead.
Many of them may have heard of the barn fire we had today on Westwood. A lot of damage, estimated over half. Like the horses got out, structures were demolished. Fire departments worked on investigating that. Police,
I did give Woodruff back.
they were effective. The officer, we had an officer participate in the return order of police trunk treat. We wanted all the police they received from that. Trunk treat, so we did. And Robbie Doan is improving. See him back someday.
Able to eat.
Recovery period of 10 hours. Hopefully nothing else is better off. So that's
I said,
The fire with, these went out with that water transfer project. We did complete this earlier this year. We didn't end up on multiple hours of dirty water calls where we got rid of that old iron main. flow of everything we got from fire went well, and they didn't have problems with the water they were getting because of the, I'm sure that it helped with that PRV upgrade during that same project. So it was nice for them not to have to go chase issues after that. So
I have a question on that. Is that something that we could have turned on our Weaver Basin water and not drawn out of our wells or something like that? Could we have flipped the switch and turned that back on to not, I mean, if it,
you could have, it probably,
I'm just,
If there was a way to.
if,
do it.
is, I mean, because that would be that tier 1 water without having to, 'cause, I mean, you start pumping a lot of water, I mean, you can put 1 million gallons out pretty darn quick.
yeah, and luckily they actually were running one crew off of ours on PV Drive, and then the other trucks were coming off of Bona Vista, happens to have a fire hydrant right by that. So they were running quite a bit off of Bona Vista too, so, but yes, we could have, it technically shouldn't feed back up there, but it does make it to some degree. How effectively is debatable, but
I mean, we've got to get something, some things where we can pump. I mean,
yeah,
hopefully this year we're gonna have plenty of snow and we're gonna recharge everything.
yes, and we're gearing up with plows, and I think Jimmy's been through them all, and guys are supposed to be doing their dry pieces, and
Don't do too much, because if we do too much, then it's gonna
That won't
hot
come,
again.
right?
So let's just wake up
maybe
and
we'll break half the fleet, and then it'll just.
if we wake up in the morning, don't plan on anything, that's what we get.
You're right.
Anything else? Those are,
I don't have anything.
all right. So,
I was just gonna say, my daughter thoroughly enjoyed touring the city hall, mayor, and top hat, so.
It was so fun. I got some fun thank you cards on my desk, and one of the kids drew the mayor on one of my cards. I don't know if you saw it. It was the
And
best.
Public Works, guys, you didn't really. That's funny. But, so much, everybody's giving them, so keep them.
No, I'm done, that's it.
It's all right.
I'm done.
Oh, you're on. Go.
No, it was so funny, so much here to talk about public works and the mayor tried to stop that and everything. So much of but it was just, I think you kind of forgot, these are first graders, he starts talking about cross connections and backflow, and he has pamphlets, anybody want a pamphlet?
Well, he had like 3 pamphlets, so they were a prize.
First
deal.
graders like, yes, the whole first grade. And, he's just telling them all, this is what we have to do, sticks. What a utility breaks, and you have to do all this, and the kids go. And so then we started talking like, first graders, so then you start to be more kindergarten language of what, potable water is. Stuff that we ran up to make it so fast. So the kids are right there. And he's like, who can tell me what a cross connection is? And this little cute first grader, ooh, and he told him exactly what it was. Because I told him that. It was funny.
That's awesome.
It was funny.
Oh, no, you're good.
Is it my turn? Round application training was yesterday, and I know we're all gonna get together and decide what we wanna go for, but as a reminder, look over this packet. And, I did, decided to like that, she's on the parts. Maybe on the parts. And then, consider what you want, if it all happens, like, before. Again, there's more money than they ever had before. More than last year, whatever, there's a lot of money. And so we get 3 grants up to $199,000 and we do 3 up to approximately like 1 major, $199,000 and over to whatever you want to ask for. And we do the grants, and then of course, I'm going to. I think we'll do January.
So I've been talking to Sarah, there are free money that don't have to be awarded. Yeah. For our state, let's get some. So anything, it's like,
For events, overtime employees and actually pays for them. Okay.
No, easy.
Easy grants. But
And
you
you-
just-
And those come.
That was
But there are some,
tents, we've got tents before. Founders Day,
so, I mean, how many of those do we have?
oh, we can have them all, if they're good applications. But you can't use them for things like food, fireworks and things. like that.
Fireworks.
Well, I'm seeing the Parks and Rec ramp funding was $1,800,000, 200,000 less.
There's a lot of money that it's,
So I really think this,
it's an opportunity, and there's ways to match it without actual dollars. There's ways to match it without actual dollars and volunteer hours and
I think we should
things
really
like
look,
that. We really need to have this discussion.
there we go, big resource here, so I think that,
Anyway,
Yeah.
so it was good, and then, so whilst I felt the council, Bill already mentioned, trip and, oh. So we did. Okay. We know about that. Okay. More to come.
because the map.
Yeah, we're looking to tweak the realignment. Yeah, no, I think we're finding a good mechanism. Mhm. One of the alternatives we are looking at with it is not using federal funds, but, you know, having it more localized project, and have developers put it in as they develop the area, so.
30 seconds. I want, my thoughts are, just let, for past getting the trucks off, that spending $20-30 to do ourselves. Once we get the design or the route, we'll just, well, start at the bottom.
And we do have some funds still for property acquisition that we can use from the county if they are agreeable to the route, and so we have some good options.
It's good instead of having it right away, but I think the developer, the interface. We can play. If the developers will.
I think they will.
All in favor? No, sorry.
I just had motion to adjourn, then
Thank you, everybody. You guys always.
Steve, you did a great job.
Oh.
Are you guys excited with this